Hey everyone, welcome to the open question. There's something odd about a belief system that charges money for enlightenment. Not donations, not goodwill offerings, literal price tags. It's not just a suggestion, it's a structure. And that structure is at the core of Scientology. Scientology sells itself as a path to self-knowledge and freedom. But it operates more like a high-pressure sales company with spiritual packaging. It speaks in the language of healing and salvation, but it behaves like a business. It has branches, pricing tiers, executive management, and strict contracts. It promises clarity, yet it hides its beliefs until you've paid enough to deserve them. That's not how truth usually works. When people talk about Scientology, they often start with L. Ron Hubbard, a science fiction writer turned prophet. But what's more interesting than his background is how openly strategic he was. He reportedly once said that the easiest way to make money is to start a religion. And then he started one. That's not hidden history. That's documented. And it sets the tone for everything that followed. The organization didn't just appear out of thin air, it evolved from Dianetics, a self-help book that came out in the 1950s. At first, Dianetics looked like another entry in the self-improvement boom of the post-war era. But then Hubbard pushed it into new territory. He framed it as a kind of spiritual science, a method to rid people of engrams, emotional scars embedded in the subconscious. He talked about the reactive mind and how it could be cleared through a process called auditing. Auditing sounds like therapy. You sit down with someone, hold metal cans connected to an electronic meter, and talk about painful experiences from your past. The device allegedly measures mental stress, but there's no science behind it. The machine doesn't actually do what they say it does, and the person holding the other end, the auditor, isn't a psychologist. They're trained within the church according to its own rules. But even if you could look past the pseudoscience, there's still the matter of money. Auditing isn't free. Courses aren't free. Advancing in Scientology means unlocking new levels like a video game, except each level costs thousands of dollars. To go all the way to the top, what they call operating Thetan level 8, can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. There are people who've mortgaged homes to chase that final step. That's not spiritual pursuit. That's a paywall. And what's waiting at the top? Stories about an intergalactic overlord named Xenu, frozen souls, and ancient space volcanoes. None of that is revealed up front. Members don't hear these teachings until they've invested enough to be ready. But how is that readiness measured? Not by moral development. Not by good deeds. By payment. The more you give, the more you're allowed to know. That's not faith. That's a subscription model. Scientology doesn't tolerate criticism. Former members are labeled as suppressive persons. Families are split. Friends cut ties. Critics are followed, investigated, harassed. Journalists are sued. Defectors are smeared. It doesn't just defend itself, it retaliates. That behavior doesn't reflect spiritual maturity. It mirrors corporate control and brand management. The Church of Scientology owns massive real estate. It has front groups. It runs schools, drug rehab programs, volunteer organizations. On the surface, that looks like community engagement. But many of these programs are tightly connected to Scientology's teachings. They're not neutral charities. They're recruitment vehicles. Tax-exempt status gives it legitimacy. In the U.S., it won a decades-long legal battle to be recognized as a religion, mainly so it wouldn't have to pay taxes. It didn't win by theological argument. It won through pressure, lawsuits, and persistence. It filed over 2,000 lawsuits against the IRS until it got what it wanted. That's not faith winning hearts. That's bureaucracy worn down by litigation. And what exactly qualifies it as a religion? It has ceremonies. It has terminology. It uses words like spirit and soul. But so do video games. So do yoga classes. Dressing something up in spiritual language doesn't mean it's sacred. Scientology has more in common with a multi-level marketing scheme than with traditional spiritual paths. It recruits people through personal relationships, promises transformation, and sells expensive materials along the way. There's also the culture of silence. Members are discouraged from reading outside sources. Negative information is framed as lies or attacks. Critical thinking is replaced with doctrine. People are told that their doubts are evidence of hidden psychological flaws, and the solution, conveniently, is more auditing. More courses, more money, more loyalty. It's a closed loop. When a belief system punishes doubt, controls access to information, isolates members, and demands financial loyalty, it stops being a belief and starts being a trap. And when that system uses the label of religion to shield itself from legal and ethical accountability, it's not just suspicious, it's dangerous. There's also a strange obsession with celebrities. Scientology goes out of its way to recruit public figures. Tom Cruise, John Travolta, others. They're treated as special ambassadors. They get luxurious treatment. Why? Because fame is influence, and influence is marketing. The more visible they are, the more legitimate the organization seems to the outside world. But a real belief system doesn't need Hollywood to look credible. Inside accounts paint a troubling picture. Former high-ranking members have described forced labor, isolation, intimidation. They talk about being stuck in compounds, doing hard labor as punishment, and signing billion-year contracts. That's not metaphor. New recruits in the Sea Org, the organization's elite inner group, literally sign contracts for 1 billion years. Try asking anyone to justify that with a straight face. And still, Scientology insists it's just misunderstood. It claims to help people find freedom and happiness. But where's the proof? Where are the long-term studies? Where's the data showing improved mental health, stronger relationships, greater well-being? The success stories they do share often sound rehearsed, like they're reading off a script. Meanwhile, countless ex-members speak of disillusionment, debt, and trauma. Families torn apart. Friends lost. Years wasted chasing a promise that never delivers. These aren't isolated complaints. They're patterns. And here's the thing, you can believe whatever you want. If someone wants to believe in aliens, reincarnation, or infinite lifespans, that's their choice. But when a system pressures people, controls them, bleeds them dry, and calls itself a church to dodge taxes and criticism, it crosses a line. It's not belief anymore, it's manipulation. Religion, at its core, is supposed to be about humility, community, compassion. Whether or not those ideas are based in anything real is another question. But even by those loose standards, Scientology doesn't measure up. It prioritizes hierarchy over community, payment over faith, control over compassion. Its growth isn't driven by spiritual hunger. It's driven by aggressive marketing and legal defense. It doesn't open hearts. It opens wallets. And it doesn't unite people. It often divides them. You have to ask yourself, if this were a new tech company, selling premium levels of access to inner peace and charging you to learn the next secret, would you take it seriously? Would you trust its intentions? Or would you call it what it is, an organization that found the perfect formula for making belief profitable? Scientology blurs the line between religion and business until the two become indistinguishable. And in that blur, the truth gets lost. Not because it's hidden deep within, but because it was never there to begin with. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.